Can I get a picture of the boy?
I just knew you couldn't watch there when he's voting. But this makes you happy.
It's like you can't hang a campaign and then take it down.
So who's getting? Is he one of us children?
Hey, Hammond, that's your jacket.
Sergeant Stubbs.
You know what? It hit me. I almost left it.
Bring it back. I might need it. Make sure it's big enough. Make sure it's big enough. Bring the extra steel plate
There were multiple activities.
You got this right. That feels good.
That's not the real.
Filled out my paperwork and sent it off yesterday, so hopefully I passed the bar.
Was it fun?
He wants to learn how we do our business.
Because all these kids in the front row, they're not as sure. Or their agenda is
Really, when we were talking in our group, just our small group, that's where I was, what am I trying to do? What am I missing from her? Yeah, yeah. So I was really torn on what I was trying, what she was trying to say, so.
Hey, you going?
And all the lights they would turn on where I can't turn it around. So our flashlights, we just did our flashlights and she got a good tip. I should have just walked you guys up there. That's all right. I tried to push that button just to, I know, she's like, okay, so you want all three? Once we get past here, these kids will all be. They're already getting.
Yeah, it's all right.
I know.
Send a seal.
How are you? Good. Sorry, we have to wait till exactly 7 o'clock.
We have some students that have probably some good jokes or something funny. Yeah. Feeling a little warm. Did you say it's 75? It's 7.
Is it 7? It's 7. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and thank you for coming. Would you please turn off your cell phones or on silent so they will not disrupt the meeting? Callie, will you please call roll?
Sure. John Hedges.
Here.
Gary Kepley. Heidi Larson.
Here.
Ashley Overton.
Here.
Dale Ryder.
Here.
Erica Weaver.
Here.
And Michelle Scala.
Here. Item number 2.1A, Mattoon High School JROTC presentation. Sergeant First Class Todd Stokes and MHS students, will you please come in? I think you want this.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Ladies. So last year we recognized on Veterans Day Mr. Pippin and the Pippin family as a former instructor who passed away. So Mr. Condren asked us this year to recognize a veteran from our community. So this year we are recognizing Commander Charles Poland from this area. He's a Mattoon High School graduate, and take it away.
Tonight we wish to recognize a member of our community who served with honor in the United States Navy and is a hero to many of the students at Mattoon High School as he holds special meaning to the Corps of Cadets. Mr. Poland is a solid member of this community, having graduated from Mattoon High School in 1974, and he is very active in his church as well. Commander Poland retired from the Navy and went on to be the senior naval instructor in North Carolina for 9 years. Commander Poland has returned home to serve his parents who are in poor health. This is another reason we call him a hero. Mr. Poland did not stop serving as he volunteered to coach for the MHS football team and is now an assistant coach for the Greenway. This semester, Mr. Poland has again stepped up to serve and come back to the classroom for the JROTC program for 2 days a week. The cadets cannot put a price tag on how much it means to us having Mr. Poland in our classroom mentoring us, teaching us, and being a great example for us. I would now like to present you with this plaque for being an outstanding citizen, a local boy who became a hero through his actions not on the battlefield, but his continuing service to Mattoon High School, Mattoon Community Unit School District Number 2, and to our community of Mattoon. Commander Poland, thank you for your service.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you very much. Before I go on to the next portion of the meeting, Mattoon Community Unit School District Number 2 hosted many Veterans Day activities. We've had breakfast with them, we've had parades, we encouraged them to come to the buildings. They participated in almost every building, and we honored them as we should do on Veterans Day. Item 2.1, the recognition of MHS and MMS fall sports team. We'll start with Trent Duckett, and then we'll go to Nate Pugh.
Everybody,
They're coming from the back room.
there's no room in this place. I am inviting myself and then our teams that performed well this year for our fall season. So we're grateful to have support from our community. We're grateful to have kids involved in athletics. It's awesome to see. It's awesome to get to call it my job where I get to go out and watch these kids play sports and learn about life through sports. So we're going to recognize those that excelled with regional championships, Apollo Conference championships, or that moved on to the state ranks for individual success. So my first group that I'm going to recognize is our boys golf team. So I think I have one or a couple boys golf. Stuart, I know Stuart was there, and then Coach Come on up, Coach. Come on, Coach. Oh, he's video duty. This is Stuart Druin. Congratulations, Stuart. Our boys golf team won a regional championship, and then as a team was a state qualifier. So that's the first time since, I believe, as a whole team?
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh, sorry, no.
No, as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a team, it's been a while since we made it as a team. But congratulations to the boys. Stuart, go ahead and share with the group where you're going to go to college and what your plans are.
South Arkansas University, play golf. They're D2. They're top 50, top 25 in the country. So play there, and then hopefully, I don't know, do whatever's next in golf if I can. If I can't, still find a way to be in the sport. That's really my goal. So.
All right. Congratulations. Next group will representatives, so come on in, girls. And coaches? Yes, absolutely. Girls, I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourselves and tell them what grade you're in, right? Just go ahead.
I'm Marley Van Hoven, I'm a junior.
I'm Agent Milk, I'm a freshman. I'm Kerrigan Highland, I'm a senior.
I'm Barrett Haldorson, I'm a senior.
Julia Morton, I'm a junior.
Natalie Ambuel, I'm a senior.
Jeremy Morton, I'm a senior.
Exactly. But our girls golf team, Apollo Conference champs. A round of applause for Apollo Conference champions. I want to say first time since 2012 or something. So it's been a while. So good to see them out on the course doing that. And then also regional champs as well. So boys and girls golf, both regional champs. That was an exciting day watching on the phone, seeing the scores come in, and both teams making it and qualifying, so that was awesome. Congratulations, girls. Thank you for your hard work. Keep up the hard work. Those of you that will be leaving us, thanks again for your service to our team and to our athletic program, and best of luck in the future. Right? Thank you, girls. Thank you, girls. Thank you so much for coming.
Where are the girls going, the senior girls?
What?
Where are they
Oh,
going?
senior girls. Senior girls? Senior girls? Senior golf girls? Senior golf girls, come on back. I apologize, I got very athletic focused there. Girls, why don't you share with the group what your future plans are?
I'm going to Lakeland and pursuing nursing.
I'm going to go to Lakeland and EIU, and then I'm going to pursue a degree in finance.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Our next group that I would like to recognize is our girls tennis team. So girls tennis, come on down. And coaches. And same thing, I'll have you go ahead and introduce yourself and what age you are, grade.
I'm Avery Gill, I'm a junior.
I'm Ava Butler, I'm a sophomore.
Lainey Butler, I'm a senior.
Lily Gregory, a junior.
Avery Boyer, a sophomore.
Coach Woods.
Hey, Coach Boyer.
If she would have said she was a senior, would you have agreed that it was possible? Yeah. But our girls tennis team, another excellent performance this fall. Girls tennis team, Apollo Conference champions, so we'll go ahead and give them a round of applause for that. And then also very special recognition, and I don't even know if she knows this yet, but Lily Gregory qualified for state, so she advanced to the state finals. We'll give her a round of applause. And Lily was selected as third team All-State for tennis, so we are very proud of her. We're of course proud of the entire team and all that they've done, and their ability to advance to sectionals as well, and to have a great overall season. Senior, go ahead, share where you're going. What's your plans?
I have no plans right now.
All right. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you so much, girls. Thank you so much, coaches. We really appreciate all your hard work on the courts. All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And then one last one. She's not able to be here tonight because she's over at the gym for Meet the Green Wave night for basketball. But Blair Powers also was on the golf team. She also qualified as an individual for the state golf finals that was played in Decatur. So we'll give her a round of applause even though she couldn't be here. Again, come out, check us out. now winter season, it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If you've got one of those nights, there's probably something going on at the high school. Come on out and check it out. Basketball, both boys and girls, wrestling, dance, cheer, all the things. Band will be there playing, so it's a good time. Please come out, join us. Hail Green Wave, right? If you want to know what the scores are, follow us on social medias. We do the Twitter, we do the Facebook, we do the Instagram. That's that lady right over there that does that work. That's Mrs. Pullen right there that does that work. So thank you to Callie and her new counterpart, Katie. Callie and Katie, easy to remember their names. But thank you to them for putting all that they do into social media so people know what's going on. It's great to be a part of the district. It's great to be a part of a team that works so hard to put things on. Two people right back there that work real hard on it. Amanda and Dustin work very hard on making all those things happen in our district and across our district. So thank you to you. Thank you to our board for your service. And I'm heading back to the gym. See y'all later.
Mr. Pugh,
Yeah.
you're up.
Right. What we'd like to do is, since they're sitting on each other's laps, we're going to start with cross country. Okay? So, cross country, come on up. Yeah, there you go. But hey, guys. Okay. I messed up. That happens all the time. I always tell the kids I make the most mistakes in the building, so that's fine. So, I'm going to call out the entire roster, okay, so some of the students might not be here, but we want to recognize all of our athletes. Isabella Butler, if I do call your name, just step forward, okay? Morgan Cole, Lucas Compton, Ethan Courtney, Jenica Gibson, Braden Goonan, Beckett Hild, William Kai, Lillian Livesey, Camden Hedges, Jacob Parker, Chelsea Solis, Ryan Spencer, Zoe Swope, and is it Malaya Hampton? So this group of boys came in 15th at sectional, and the girls 13th at sectional. So they did a fantastic job. Keep up with this sport, because this is something you can carry in your pocket all day long, all right? Even when you get old, you can still run. So, and I need to take my own advice. So, thank you guys. Go ahead and take a seat. Thanks for coming in. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll shift to our softball ladies. Do I have any softball girls here today? We do have girls basketball and practice going on, as well as a boys basketball game. So that's probably where a lot of ours are at. But I would like to go ahead and recognize them for their efforts throughout this season. Layla Adele, Kennedy Arthur, Peyton Beck, Brooklyn Buxton, Layla Cole, Nora Davis, Riley Durbin, Sophia Gomez, Elena Gordon, Kaylee Griffin, Campbell K. Dunkel, Ava Leo, Lillian Livesey, Kinley McGraw, Anastasia Miller, Morgan Moses, Elisa Murdoch, Belle Powers, McKenna Russell, Michaela Starwalt, Adriana Veach, and Sophia Elder. They did finish with a record of 6-11. It is a young team, so we're looking to build that program because let's remember, our Wildcats are future Green Wave. So that's what we have going. So congratulations to our football. And on to baseball. Coach Alexander this season had Grayson Grant, Tyler Hackey, Braden Hackett. Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any baseball kids here?
Yeah, we got a couple here.
I'm sorry. Get up here, Ty. Hey, come on. Yell at me and stop. You're good in the hallway to get my attention. So, anybody else? All right. So, Grayson Grant, Tyler Hackey, Braden Hackett, Knox Hayes, Braylon Holt, Jackson Horst, Jackson Howell, Mitchell Howell, Trustin Lindsay, Max McCain, Owen Nolte, Brendan Prince, Cruz Roderick, Anthony Spracklin, Braylon Uppenkamp, Preston Walk, and Ty Little. The boys did finish with a record of 9-6 this year, and again, we are kind of building the program. We did see through our pandemic a little drop in our numbers, but we're getting it back and going so that these boys will be enjoying that new turf before you know it. All right? Thank you all very much. And guys, thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, students, if you wish wish to leave, you may leave. You don't have to sit here for the rest if you don't want to, but you're welcome to. But...
See ya.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Ryan.
Wait, most of the
Ryan.
cross country team must go.
If there's anybody in the outside, Dave, would you ask them if they want to come in and have a seat? She's the baker. I think there were some people out in the hallway that we could give them some seating now. Thank you for patiently waiting. We had a lot of students to be recognized this evening. Under the item 3, non-agenda visitors, and I have 6 that would like to speak. Stacy Harmonson, would you like to address us?
Sure.
Each speaker has 3 minutes that they can speak.
I just asked that we were talking about some of the report card things and some of the areas that students are lacking, and I just made a comment that I have 2 in college now, and that they have no study skills and they've really struggled. And talking to other parents, it's pretty common. So the report card has come out, and I know we're going to talk about that later, but I looked at it a lot, and I'm assuming all of you guys look at it too. Hopefully you parents have looked at it, but even for state, Mattoon School District is behind. Like, we are low in our percentages for ELA, for math, for science. We are below the average for the state. So we've got, we know that nationwide there's an issue because of COVID, the kids are behind, but Mattoon's even farther behind than everybody else in the state. And so I'm real concerned. My kids are almost done in high school, but these kids, it's going to be the rest of their lives. This is a problem. They're going to be behind, and I'm real concerned. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that up again, and I don't know if we get a chance to talk later, but the reason I wanted to talk is just I'm hoping that the administration's going to present what a plan is to catch up and get our kids back up to the average, to at least the state level, and not be so far behind, because it's, we've got kids who, they can't speak because they've been wearing masks for so long. Their speech is impaired, they can't read, because they've not, been doing that for the last few years, and so I'm just real concerned about the upcoming kids, and hopefully we hear a solution to that later, at least a plan for how we catch up with that.
Thank you very much. Jeremy Harmonson?
I'm good. I filled that out in case we needed more time.
Oh, okay, thank
She
you.
captured it well.
James Donasso?
Hello, I'm James Donasso. I'm not in the Mattoon School District, just to let you know, but I am here representing the concerned taxpayers of Coles County. We're a group that was organized about 7 years ago. We usually address boards, mostly at the county level, but also at the local level, concerning fiscal responsibility of the taxpayers. However, in my travels and going around, I've had a chance to address different councils and whatnot. It seems to me that there's a growing divide in our country, and it starts at the local level. There's a disconnect between the voters and the people that these boards and councils and elected officials are supposed to be representing, and the people. And this isn't just a problem at the federal level or at the state level. It starts at the local level. Illinois is one of the most corrupt states. It's a fact. Those aren't my words. Okay, you can check it out. It is, all right? Politicians don't get corrupt at the state level and federal level. They just get more corrupt. It starts at the local level. and I want to just make something clear. This comes right off your website, and I want to be absolutely clear on this. It says right here on the Mattoon Community Unit School District, it says, school boards have the responsibility to represent the wishes of the people and to exercise lay control of educational goals and directions. Erica, I'm going to read a quote that you said last meeting. I watched meetings. We do watch meetings of some of the local boards because we're a watchdog group. You said, and this is a quote, "This board is not the voice or the face of this district. We are here to support this administration and the superintendent." You are absolutely 100% wrong. You are here to represent the people who elected you in the district that elected you. Nothing else. You're not here for the superintendent. You're not here for anybody else. You're here for the people. And if you don't understand that, and if any other member doesn't understand this on the board, and I don't care if you're at the state level, federal level, local level, you need to get out. Because your job is first to the people who you represent. And I have seen this time and time again in the 7 years I've been doing this. And we've had friends that are in watchdog groups like the Edgar County Watchdogs. They said when we first got into this, you're not going to believe how corrupt it really is. And it is. And it starts with an attitude at the local level. You need to be held accountable to the people you represent, and you need to not forget that. And when you start forgetting that, that's when all kinds of shenanigans can come around. And I've been hearing some stuff here. You're going to see me here again because I'm looking into some financial things that are just not right in the district. And we're going to get to the bottom of this just like we do at the county level. So hopefully you understand that, and you'll stay true to what your elected position should be, which is in this case, the people of the Mattoon School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donaso. Kirk Allen. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. My name is Kirk Allen, I'm co-founder of the Edgar County Watchdogs. We're a 501c4 nonprofit local government accountability group. And I want to bring something to your attention. I don't know, I'm assuming you mentioned you have three-minute policy, so at some time you've adopted a public comment policy.
Yes.
All right. Are you folks familiar with section 34-19.1 regarding time for people to speak and employees to speak at your meetings? It's in the school code. And Dale, as a former legislator, I appreciate that you're here because I've raised this with school boards and community colleges across the state. It's real short and sweet. Comment at meetings, at each regular and special meeting, and this is not the Open Meetings Act. This is separate and distinct. This is in your school code. At each regular and special meeting, which is open to the public, members of the public and employees of the district shall be afforded time subject to reasonable constraints to comment to or ask questions of the board. What's the legislative intent of asking questions? Anybody?
Get answers.
It's to get answers.
Hey, there you go.
And that's why that was put in the school code. And one of the things we see with boards all over, and I really wish that was in all local government statutes, but it's in the school code, and the purpose is so that people can get answers. Because here's what happens during open meetings public comment. I'm assuming you don't comment or don't answer questions. Is that a safe assumption? Simple nod, yes, no? Nobody's going to answer. See, here we go. The purpose of this, it alleviates people from having to make assumptions as to what your position is or why you're doing something. And when a person asks a question and they can't get an answer, they're going to assume whatever their narrative is in their paradigm, and it may or may not align with what you folks are doing. This is an important statute. It's short, sweet, and to the point, and it's separate from the Open Meetings Act. And I would hope that this board takes appropriate steps to have a time in every meeting to do what the law says. You shall do this because it's separate from the Open Meetings Act. Anybody have any questions? I'll answer questions. No questions? All right, thank you much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. John Kraft.
It's me, I'm John Kraft. I'm here to address what happened during the October 11, 2022 meeting where there were accusations of a board member violating the Open Meetings Act when she sent an email to more than one other board member and the superintendent, I believe, maybe, believe the president and Dale Ryder both mentioned that they believe that violated the Open Meetings Act, and Dale Ryder even read parts of the Open Meetings Act, Section 1.02 of the Open Meetings Act. But Dale, you stopped, and you should have continued reading. You failed to include the part that and other means of contemporaneous interactive communication. So emails, text messages, phone calls, and any other contemporaneous interactive communication for the purpose of discussing public business. Sending an email saying, hey, put this on the agenda, period, send, is not for the purpose of discussing public business, I don't believe. Otherwise, nobody could put anything on the agenda unless you took a vote on it at a previous meeting. And there has to be contemporaneous interactive communication. And the Illinois Governmental Lawyers Association, the Illinois Attorney General, and even the Oakbrook Village Attorney all wrote opinions on this subject, and the Illinois Governmental Lawyers Association gave a class on it. The key words are slow down. Contemporaneous interactive communications. All of it has to be there. Dale, you said just read the law, the elements are there. Well, they're not there because there was no contemporaneous interactive communication. The AG put the time limit on what contemporaneous interactive communication is to, I believe, the opinions I read from them is if one of you board members sends all the other board members an email, one of you replies within 5 minutes, another one waits an hour and a half, another one waits a day, another one waits 2 days. That didn't violate the Open Meetings Act. If you would have all replied within 4 or 5 minutes, yes, it would have. And I understand your attorney issued a written opinion to somebody, or at least I hope they did, and I would hope that the board would publish that written opinion so the public would know whether the board is still under the impression that a board member violated the Open Meetings Act.
It's time, sir.
Or the board didn't violate the Open Meetings Act, and the public needs to know so when they come time to vote again, they know who to vote for. Plus, I would like to critique the attorney's opinion, written opinion, because if he said it violated, I'd really love to read it. And the public deserves to read it. They deserve to know. If they're going to vote for her again, they want to know whether she violated the act or not. If they're going to vote for Dale, they want to know whether he wrongly accused somebody of something. And the same for the chairman. Thanks.
Thank you. There was an opinion issued, and it was client-attorney privilege, and if Mrs. Larson wishes to share that, that's up to her.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on a minute.
Don't backtrack on that.
Pardon me?
Just don't backtrack on what you just said. I appreciate what you said.
No,
I have documentations, because personally this has bothered me, that it's been protected with client-attorney privilege. Because my character and my integrity has been challenged here, not only privately, but publicly. And when I received the public opinion 13 days later, I was surprised by it, and I asked if I could share this, and I was told by Brandon Wright, the attorney, the confidential information, this is his writing, the confidential opinion is for the official business of the board and is protected by attorney-client privilege. It is not for any individual board member's personal or individual use and should not be shared by anyone outside of the members of the board and key administrators. It is not public record. And when I even asked to share it with my attorney, and Tim, you were copied on this, I said I would like permission to share it with my own personal attorney. I was told no.
Can I get a copy right now? I'll walk up.
And is this public?
I would follow the board's attorney's advice at this time, and we can look into that.
There we go. Clearly the confusion is if the chairperson says I can share
I didn't know, I had no knowledge of what the rest of your opinion stated about sharing it.
So the whole board didn't get that message?
It did because we're members of the board.
I remember saying the opinion, but I don't remember what it said verbatim.
Why don't you just stick it on your website? People would love to read it. Election season's coming up. They need to know. It's a sticky issue. They deserve to know, the right to know.
Okay, I have another speaker, Rob Perry.
My name is Rob Perry. I'm another founding member of the Coles County people about the taxes. I'm here to ask some questions about ARPA. Can anybody around the board tell me whether or not all of the ARPA funds have been distributed? Yes or no?
Mr. Sherman?
Yeah.
They've been distributed.
No, they have not.
Okay, can you tell me what's left?
I have to check into that.
Okay. Question, the reason I'm asking is that, number one, I just kind of did some number crunching before I got here. The tax base from Community District Number 2 went up about 2 percentage points from one tax bill than the next. I think you were inflected with about $16 million. I don't know exactly what that number is, but somewhere in the $15.5 to $16 million ARPA funds. My question to the board is that you bought a building, we've got a lift program now, which is good. I don't know about the administrative side of what you're doing with the money, but the thing that bothers me the most is all of these things that you buy have to be maintained, and they have to be spent on. That building across the street will have to have things done over the next 20 years. I'm asking you, have you put money or set money aside from those ARPA funds to take care of the excess money that's going to have to be spent over here? Or are you just going to throw that in and the taxpayers are going to have to share the burden?
ARPA funds have a deadline of when they can be spent.
So what I'm trying to say is, the next question to lead into that is, what about the taxpayers? You can spend that ARPA money any way you like. We already know that some school districts have used it to lower tax bills. Is that in the making or not?
What's in the making? I don't understand your question.
I'm asking you, are you going to be able to lower your levy because you have money left over from ARPA
The
funds?
money from the ARPA funds will expire at a certain time. That money is not perpetual and will not keep going.
So how long do we have on the money? And will it go into the next tax
Depends on which federal bank
season?
you're talking about.
Pardon?
Some of those have expired at the end of this
So
school
how
year,
much
some
money is
expire at the end
left?
of 24.
How much money is
I
left?
don't have an answer for that right now, sir.
Really?
Really? I wasn't prepared for your question tonight.
Okay, by next meeting, will you have that for me, please?
I'll see if I can find that answer, but it's in, the ARPA funds are already written out in grant form of what they can be expended on.
And it does include buying buildings, correct?
It could, but that's not what we did not use ARPA funds to buy that building.
Okay, so what I'm asking a contentious point, that you agree that any kind of building or any kind of real property that this board would buy would cause more duress on the taxpayer because of
I
the
didn't
cost
say
of
that.
maintaining the building and
I
the
didn't
people
say
that are in
that.
that building.
I didn't say that.
What
You
did
asked me
say?
if I said that. I did not say that.
So I'm asking you, do you think it will cause a change in the taxes over the next 20 years? Will it cost us more money? That's what I'm asking you. Yes or no?
The ARPA funds will not cause the building to have anything to do with the taxes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Moving on to item 3 for consent agenda for board action. We have quite a list tonight. 3.1, approval of minutes. 3.1A, regular board meeting, October 11th, 2022. 3.2, financial payment of bills. 3.2A, presentation of bills for approval. 3.2B, monthly financial reports by fund. 3.2C, year-to-date budget reports. 3.3, monthly enrollment reports. 3.4, approval of Title I parental involvement policy. 3.5, approval of school improvement plans presented October 11th, 2022. 3.6, approval of Mattoon High School FFA and agricultural events. 3.6A, Build Conference November 21st and 22nd, 2022 in Bloomington, Illinois. 3.6B, Ground Zero Conference January 27th through 28th, 2023 in Carbondale. 3.6C, Women Changing Ag March 2nd through 3rd, 2023, Galesburg, Illinois. 3.6D, FFA State Convention June 13th through 15th, 2023 in Springfield, Illinois. 3.7, approval of Mattoon High School Skills USA events. 3.7A, Skills USA Lock-In at MHS, January 14th, 2023. 3.7B, Skills USA State Leadership Skills Conference, April 27th through the 29th, 2023 in Peoria, Illinois. 3.7C, National Leadership Skills Conference, June 19th through 23, June 19th through the 23rd, 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. 3.A, approval of Mattoon High School band events. 3.A, Illinois Music Educators Association All-State Conference, January 25th through 28th, 2023, Peoria, Illinois. 3.8B, Honor Band Festival, January 13th through 14th, 2023, Edwardsville, Illinois. 3.9, approval to submit private, state, and federal grants for the 2023-2024 school year. 3.10, approval to accept donations. 3.10A, accept donations for lift from Apex Clean Energy Holdings LLC. 3.10B, accept donation for MHS Building Trades from Just Right Manufacturing Company LLC. And 3.11, approval of Freedom of Information Report. May I have a motion and a second, please? Motion by Erica, second.
Second.
By Ashley. Are there any questions of the board?
I have a couple. Christy,
Yes.
I see you for the district-wide parental involvement policy.
Yes, the Title I.
Title I. Yeah, can you, is this new? Do we already
Nope.
have one?
It's every year, it's a requirement of the title grants. So it's something that basically is part of our application that we do annually.
Okay. And so a couple people asked, there's not going to be any change in parental involvement. They can still be in the schools the way
Yep.
they like to.
Yep.
Okay. And then where will this be published so they could find it?
It's in the student handbooks and it's on the website. In the student handbooks.
For my part of it, we submitted as part of our grant on the IWIS.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Callie, will you please call roll?
Sure. Larson?
Yes.
Overton? Yes. Ryder?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Hedges?
Yes.
And Skidmore.
Yes. Reports and recommendation of the business manager. Item 4. Mr. Sherman, you are up.
All right. Get it down. There we go. Okay, 4.1 is board action to approve the FY22 certificate of tax levy for Mattoon School District. Law says that the tentative property tax levies must be on display at a separate meeting before being acted upon. We did that at the October 11th school board meeting. Just to remind everybody that we levy in dollars. We don't set the tax rates. We don't have anything to do with that. So what is a tax levy? A levy is the amount of dollars each operating fund a school district asks for. And again, that's a key point, that we're asking for to pay the bills for the next school year. And when must it be adopted? It has to be adopted by the last Tuesday in December and then certified with the county clerks. And we go into 4 counties, so we send that certificate to each of the 4 counties. A levy is what we ask for. The extension is what we actually receive when everything's said and done at the county level with all the formulas that they go through. How is it processed? The board will certify a tax levy to the county clerk. Each of the county clerk then puts that in with the EAV numbers that they have and certifies the rate. And the clerk assigns the appropriate tax rate to the operating funds based on what we levy for and based on certain restrictions that are applied. The county clerk then processes the tax bills that generate the tax dollars that are extended or given to the school district. That's going to be another key point here in a second. Property tax extension limitation law, or PTEL, is the common words for it. It actually doesn't refer to tax caps. Some people like to call it the tax cap law, but it is not that at all. It's the limit on what we can receive. It limits the growth of the extension, or again, what we receive, not what we ask for, but what we receive, to an annual rate of 5% or CPI, Consumer Price Index, whichever is less. And here in Coles County, it became law in 2004. That's when we started going under the guidelines of the PTEL law. This is kind of a neat slide because it's never happened before. You can see all the different tax rates that we've had for the last, going back to 2009, what CPI has been. See what the second column there is the levies that they deal with, and then the school years that those levies and extensions apply. Now again, CPI is based on December to December, so it's not an average, it's not a growth pattern, it's from a certain date to a certain date. That's what's used for the PTEL calculations. And CPI cannot go above 5%, even though this past year it was at 7%. We're not going to get 7%. We're going to get 5%. This has never happened before. You can see what those numbers are there for the different things. So that's why in our tax levy we ask for 4.99. So we don't get to the 5, we're not going to get the 7. Equalized assessed valuation, that becomes a part of it because that's part of the formula. It's the property value for individual and total property of the school district after the county and state equalization calculations are performed. There's a set of gyrations that they go through in their formulas to do that. How much will it grow from last year? And the honest answer is I have no clue. But for our calculation purposes, we use a 3-year average to set what we think that's going to be. Our 3-year average EAV growth is 2.56%, and that's based on historical information that we have from the Coles County Assessor's Office, and that's what we're using, is that 2.56% projected EAV growth. Why is that important? Because if the EAV grows, the tax base grows. If the tax base grows, that helps the financial health of the district. And the total district EAV is multiplied by the approved tax rate per $100 of EAV to arrive at the extension. That's what we end up receiving in late June and then on into 23-24. So the levy assumptions are these. Again, the 3-year projected EAV growth of 2.56%. This is an actuality, 4.99 actual CPI growth. That's the number we're using, even though the actual CPI was 7%. We are using 4.99 for our calculations in the levy that you'll see here in just a second. This is just a chart showing you what our EAV has done in the last several years, the past 20 years, and it's continually growing, which is a good thing for everybody. And the recommendation, again, 2.56% projected EAV growth, the 4.99 actual CPI, project an increase of revenue to the district of approximately $650,000 if all those things actually hold true. This is the levy recommendation that we have before you for the board to hopefully approve this evening. You see the different funds that we have: education, O&M, transportation, IMRF, Social Security, fire prevention and life safety, special ed, leasing, for a total levy recommendation of just a little bit over $16 million. And that's it. So the recommendation from the administration would be to approve the tax levy as presented.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the tax levy? John, second? I'll second. Erica? Any comments or questions from the board? I have a few. Go ahead.
What is our overall budget? What is the total amount of money the district has?
It's about 55 million, I think, for this year.
So this is what I got from the report card. So let me show you. I got this first. So I think in October, you heard me ask for the board location reports. This is what was in my mailbox. I don't know who put it in there, but the mailbox is wiggly now. But this is the report. And so what I struggle with, Tom, is in here, I mean, I literally went through this. It is 1,185 pages. In here, I don't have, here's the total budget of 54 million. Here's how we break it down into, this is what the high school has to spend. This is what, I can't imagine this is what school board members get in different districts to understand
I doubt that they do.
the finances. So there's clearly a summary, some details of information. So what I learned is that instructional spending from the state based on the report card, we get roughly $7,616 per student. In the operational spending, we get $13,022. So every student in Mattoon, correct me if I'm wrong, we get $20,638 per child in our district. Is that about what you think? Is that accurate?
It's actually have it in my presentation coming up. So,
Okay.
I think it's around 14.
14.
Yeah.
Is for, because it broke it down to operational and
And
instruction.
and the operation includes the instruction.
Is
Yep,
it included?
yep. So it's part of it.
Okay, so it's everything, so 13,000. So in the property tax levy, you're asking for 16 million, which is about 650,000 more for us as a district than last year.
Well, this is the ask.
Okay,
The 650,000 that I showed is what we think we might get as the extension if all those variables hold true. So that's a wild guess.
okay. But that's your best estimate?
Yes.
Okay. Because my issue with that is that we have more COVID money. We have more expenses forecasted for the county, right? When we look at, we have a convention center that's opening, there's a sports complex. We have more income that's coming in to the area, new businesses. And I'm worried about protecting, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a property tax. And I'm worried about taxing the people when we have a recession. We have a lot of fixed income. We have a lot of people that are being hurt right now by a recession. And this seems like a lot of money to ask the taxpayers to provide.
Well, we use this money hopefully we'll get some of it at the end of June for this particular year, and then the rest of it we'll get, the lion's share of it we'll get in FY24, starting next July.
The city's doing the same thing, right? County's doing the same thing.
Everywhere all over the state's doing, yeah,
Tax.
tax levies.
Haven't heard of it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When we implemented the 1% sales tax, that was implemented, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's used towards buildings?
Yeah.
To improve buildings only?
That's a great question. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Is that a correct
Yes.
statement?
Yeah.
Okay, so the part of the budget that we had fixated on repairing and fixing the buildings and improvements of the buildings, that was supposed to alleviate that portion of the ask amount that the school had because we were getting that extra funds for that. But it doesn't seem like we took that money and dropped what we're asking for. It seems like we took that money and said, oh, look, we got a whole bunch of extra more money, let's spend it everywhere else.
But you'll see in just a little bit when we get to these next 2-3 things on the agenda that comes into play, what you're saying.
Is that a
Will
correct
come
statement?
into play.
Is that, what I said, is that a correct statement? Meaning the gap that the 1% opened up, we didn't back off, we decided to keep going forward and spending.
Well, we did back off some of the things that we're doing and using the 1% sales tax to pay for those items.
To pay for the building items. And I'm saying what
And
happened.
maintenance items and construction-related items and maintenance items. Yes,
But that was in the original budget to begin with, correct?
right.
So that amount of money should have been backed off. So if I pay your mortgage every month, you don't have to pay it. You've got an excess in your budget.
But this is a bigger detail than just the 1% sales tax. This is our entire, encompassing our entire budget.
But there's still a chunk of money that was alleviated by the 1% that I guess we want to know where it's being spent.
I can show you where that is.
Perfect.
And we're going to get to that here in just a second.
Awesome, thank you.
Go right ahead, Mr. Sherman. Are there any other questions? Any questions further? Okay, please call roll.
Larson,
No.
Overton,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yeah.
Scanlon.
Yes.
Okay. 4.2, board action to approve a resolution abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on the taxable general obligation school bonds, alternate revenue source, series 2013. Back in 2013, roughly 9-10 years ago, when things were really in the state, we're at a state financial crisis. We didn't get some state aid payments that we were supposed to get from the state education, from anything from the state. So we took out alternative revenue bonds. At the same time, when we did that, the board made a pledge to the community to make that ARB payment through existing revenue, that we would not pass that on to the taxpayers. The state evidence-based funding dollars, used to be general state aid, is the old vernacular. Now it's called EBF, evidence-based funding, that the district receives annually from ISB are used to make these payments. We cannot use, to your point, we cannot use that school facilities tax to pay for this bond. We will get to some other things here in a minute that we can use it for. So we're going to be using some of the state money to pay for these ARBs, alternate revenue bonds. This is specifically to abate the bond payment for those bonds that were not part of the refinancing that we did in 2021. If you remember back in the fall of 2021, we refinanced the alternate revenue bonds. There were two parts to that. This is the part that was not covered with the refinancing. This abatement resolution amounts to $240,229. In order to maintain the pledge not to pass this on to the property taxpayers, the board has to tell the county clerk to abate or not levy for that particular amount for these bonds. Without this resolution here that we're going to do in a minute, the board or the county will pass that on to the taxpayers. So we recommend approval of this abatement resolution so that the county cannot send that to the taxpayers.
Okay, I need a motion, and it was by John Hedges, second by Erica. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, Kelly, will you call roll?
Overton,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Scanlon.
Yes.
Okay, 4.3, board action to approve a resolution abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on the taxable general obligation refunding school bonds or the alternate revenue source, series 2021. This is the part that we refinanced in 2021 for the alternate revenue bonds. It's the remainder of the bonds that refinanced in 2021, both the one that we just did and this one are needed together because they make that payment for the ARB. And again, we're not going to use taxpayer dollars for this. We cannot use sales tax dollars for this one. This abatement action amounts to about a little bit over $182,000 that we are not passing on to the taxpayers. The next bullet point is we will be using EBF money that we receive from the state to make this payment and thus not passing it on to the taxpayers of the district. Again, we are maintaining the pledge that we made several years ago and have kept doing it since that time to tell the clerk to abate or not levy, not collect a property tax for these bonds. And we recommend approval of this abatement resolution.
May I have a motion, please? Motion by Ashley, second by Erica. Any questions from the board? Kelly, will you please call roll?
Larson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Scanlon.
Yes.
4.4, board action to approve a resolution for the first part, transferring funds from the school facility occupation tax fund of Unit 2 to the bond and interest fund of the said school district and abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on the general obligation limited capital appreciation school bonds series 2015 of Mattoon School District. Back in 2015, we took out a bond called a capital appreciation bond to do roof work at the high school and the middle school, back 7-8 years ago. We can use sales tax money, the 1% money, to make this payment. That's what we're using some of this sales tax money for. It amounts to $385,000. Again, if we don't abate this, the county will pass this on to the taxpayers. So this is part of the sales tax piece. This is one of the things that, as the gentleman has talked about, that we can use this money for, and it amounts to $385,000 of that, and we recommend the approval of this abatement resolution.
Motion by Erica, second by Ashley. Are there any further questions from the board? No. Callie, will you call roll?
Weaver? Yes. Hedges?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Scanlon?
Yes.
And the last one I have is just an information item. It's no action required. This is information regarding the sale of the building trades house that's currently under construction, located in Meadows Subdivision, Lot 304. The bids were due last Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and we didn't get a single bid. We've set up a meeting for, I think it's December 5th, in the morning to come up with the next plan of action, so to speak, for what we're going to do to either wait till the spring to sell that or go back and see what else we need to do. But there's a meeting set up for December 5th to come up with the next plan of action regarding the building trades house. Again, no action is required at this time. I don't have a bid to present to you because we did not receive any bids for the building trades house. So there's no action on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman.
Thanks.
Item 5, reports and recommendations of the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Dr. Scosi.
Thank you. The board has before them the November personnel report. Okay. Item 5.1A, you see Melissa Galvin is resigning as Mattoon Middle School 8th grade teacher effective November 4th, 2022. Rebecca Gates will be retiring as Williams Elementary School special education teacher effective December 31st, 2024. At that time, she will have given 20 years of service to our students and staff in our district, so we're grateful for that. Rebecca Hall will be retiring as Williams Elementary School special ed teacher effective for the 27-28 school year. At that time, she will have served our district for well over 27 years servicing our students, so we're very appreciative of her service. Continuing on, classified appointments. Heidi House, Mattoon Middle School English teacher, effective immediately. Matt Jacobs, Mattoon LIP Culinary Arts facilitator, effective immediately. Mattoon High School graduate as well, I might add. Asley Hayton as a substitute teacher, and Kristen Yeske as a substitute teacher. Classified resignations, Chelsea Arthur, resigning as Williams Elementary School supervisor, effective October 19, 2022. Continuing, Roger Mortz, resigning as Transportation Service Center bus driver, effective September 21st, 2022. Tammy Munyon is retiring May 31st, 2024. Tammy Munyon's our Mattoon High School secretary. She's like a mom to all our students and staff. You can hear the moaning in the room. Her husband's retiring as well, but she'll be greatly missed. She's given 16 years of service to our district and will be greatly missed. Appreciate her service. Amanda Williamson, resigning Mattoon High School paraprofessional, effective October 18th, 2022. Classified appointments, Barbara Burton, bus driver, effective October 24th, 2022. Bailey Evans, Williams Elementary School supervisor, effective immediately. Michelle Evans, Williams Elementary School supervisor, effective immediately. Sharon Godwin, Williams Elementary School physical education paraprofessional, effective immediately. Nina Hilgenberg, Mattoon High School parapro, recommending for hire, effective immediately. Kate Lee Honey, communications specialist, November 7th, 2022, working with Callie. Barbara Schutz, bus aide, effective November 7th, 2022. Tina Thompson, bus aide and substitute bus driver, effective October 24, 2022. Paul Weber, bus driver, effective November 21st, 2022. Patsy Croy, bus aide, substitute bus aide, effective immediately. Andrew Titus, substitute bus driver, effective immediately. Robert Wells, substitute bus driver, effective immediately. Dolores Wishard, substitute bus driver and substitute bus aide, effective immediately. Kathleen Anderson, volunteer. Josh Blackwell, volunteer. And as we go through, finishing up here in the regular agenda, William Blackwell, volunteer, effective immediately. Lindsay Butler, volunteer. Krista Diblerty, a volunteer. Jacob Drummond, Skylar Eldridge, Christian Hendrickson, and Gabrielle Parks, volunteers. There's no extracurricular resignations, assignments. And then lastly, the agenda, Janan Colvin, longtime Mattoon High School art teacher, will be retiring December 31st, 2027. She will have served 33 years in our district as an art teacher, so we're very appreciative of her service as well. Kendall Kaufman, Mattoon High School substitute teacher, effective immediately. Crystal Sparks is a substitute teacher and substitute parapro in our district. She's a retired teacher looking to be subbing in our district. She is resigned, as you can see, as a supervisor at Riddle Elementary School as well to do the subbing in those other two areas. Lastly, classified appointments. Karen Moran, again, a longtime secretary in district, retired, is coming back to be a substitute secretary effective immediately. And Ashley Class, Riddle Elementary School supervisor effective immediately. Are there any questions?
I got to see those bus drivers.
Yes, I'm very appreciative how the community's responded to our call and need and desperate need for transportation folks. So very appreciative.
I need a motion and a second first. Motion. Okay, who said first? Ashley and Erica. Now, are there any questions?
Dave Matthew Jacobs, what's
Yes.
his credential?
Matthew Jacobs has a bachelor's from Eastern Illinois University, and he's applying for CT licensure, which he'll qualify for to teach the culinary arts courses. And he has over 8 years of experience working in running the kitchen at the Firefly, the Alamo, plus a bachelor's degree, and currently works for Coles County Health Department. And he's the individual that goes out and monitors all the restaurants and gives them the health ratings. So he has a plethora of experience in that realm as well. And we're really excited about him and what he's doing with the program. There he is! There you go, even better. So we're excited about Matthew.
We also, life skills also play, like their experience in the field also plays a huge role in being able to teach and do that.
Experiences, and kids want to be engaged in experiences. That's how we all best learn and grow. And so that's what we're excited what Matt can bring to our program there. So
welcome. Are there any other questions? Callie, will you call roll?
Hedges?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Skinner?
Yes. Now
Thank
we can
you.
officially say welcome.
Yay,
Okay,
Item 6, reports and recommendations of the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. Dr. Hill.
yes. Let's see if I can.
And I'm cold.
And she's cold.
So that's,
We know it's cold. I am shivering to the bone.
Okay, thanks everybody. Excited to be able to present tonight on, of course, we all think our stuff is the most important, right? But I appreciate, Stacey, your comments about our students' academics and just their overall success. And I appreciate the fact that there's been so much interest in our learning recovery and supporting our students and the whole child. And so we're going to talk about those results. We'll reference the school improvement plans you guys approved in the continuous improvement, and then I'll welcome questions. Board members, you do have a copy of this, and I believe it will be in our minutes as well, so anyone will be able to reference the information that's presented in here tonight. So tonight I actually have 2 agenda items, neither of which require action, so really it's just a discussion and to inform the public about the things that are happening in our schools. So the first thing we'll talk about is the presentation of the school report card. You guys will remember last month it was under embargo and the data had been done and all that, and then October 28th it was officially published, and so then this is our first opportunity to share it publicly with the community and the board, although it has been made available online. And then we'll talk about some curricular updates, which you guys will learn about tonight. They'll sit for a month, and then we'll ask for board action in December. It's crazy to think December is coming right up. So the school report card is essentially our annual designation. It's kind of like whenever you were in school, you got a report card, and it was your final grade. The school report card is that for the school district. Every school gets a designation. They get kind of A, B, C, that kind of a thing. And we talked about this a little bit last month, but the things that go into the designation are graduation rates, student mobility, finances, how much we spend per pupil. I appreciate you looking all that up too. There's a lot of information there. Growth on our Illinois Assessment of Readiness, proficiency on state exams, so those are two different things. We'll talk about that. Chronic absenteeism, which is really an area that has gotten a lot of attention across the state. Because when kids are quarantined, they're absent, right? So there's been a lot of talk around that in student services world. Retention, and that's about teacher retention, and then school climate and school culture. Those are all the things that kind of factor into the overall designation of our schools. The specific formulas look like this. This is kind of what we looked at last month as well. 75% of our overall rating is from academic performance, how well our students are doing on the standards. And then 25% is on school quality and student success indicators that are other than academics. So as you'll see in elementary, what we're looking at is primarily growth. How much are our kids growing? That's in our circle of influence. That's what our teachers and our principals and our teams are able to influence. We want them to grow more than what a standard year would have for a kid growing, right? Like that means that our impact on them has made a more significant impact than just a standard year of life. So 25% of your ratings on ELA growth and 25% is on math growth. But then we also have proficiency. So the state sets these levels of like this percent of students should be meeting or should be on target in ELA and in math, and that comprises 7.5% for each. And then science is 5%, but a note on the Illinois Science Assessment is that they don't have like a number of students that should be passing it. It's a number of students who participate. That was a difference this year. And then English learner progress to proficiency. So our students who are learning English as a second language, how close are they getting to being proficient on the state standards? Then the non-academic quality success indicators include absenteeism. It's 20% of our overall score. And then the school climate survey, which is the 5 essential survey. Every school in the state takes that survey, and that factors in as well. So that's elementary. The high school is very similar. There's just some specific differences. Like it's still proficiency. There's still growth, but there's more listed down here in terms of like 9th grade on track. That's not something we have in elementary or 3 through 8. So that's added in as well. So you can see that their diagram looks a little bit different. So we received our overall designations. Franklin doesn't get a designation other than it's like circle of gold, amazing, amazing, amazing. Jamie was here somewhere. But they don't get a designation from the school because it's not compulsory. Riddle and Williams were both rated commendable. Middle school was targeted for a specific student group. We need to improve the multiracial student achievement. And the high school was also received a commendable ranking. So what that means is the state gives 4 different rankings. And commendable means that you didn't have any underperforming student groups and that your school met the target set by the state. You're not in the lowest 5% or 10% of the schools across the state, and you don't have any underperforming student groups. So at the middle school, we had one student group that was underperforming, and that's part of their school improvement plan. And I'm going to talk about this specifically as we go on. So highlights. So at the first slide, I said this is kind of how they figured out. So I thought I would just share with the board. You have access to all of this, and it's linked in here. It's also on our website. But I wanted to pull out some specific graphs just to show some of the things that go into it. So this is our high school graduation rate. You have our rate compared to the state. Ours was 86.4%, so that means 86.4% of the students who entered grade 9 in 2018 school year graduated in the spring, this past spring. The state is 87.3. That's obviously significantly lower than what we're used to seeing. These high school students had 2 years of their high school career were impacted by that. Many of you have high schoolers, many of you are high schoolers, so you've lived that, right? So this is close to the state average, but it is a little bit lower, and this is why that 9th grade on track percentage is so important, and kind of just monitoring those students all the way through. In addition, we look at district funding. So this is kind of an interesting thing that the state does. The state says, how much local capacity do you have to fund your schools? How much do you rely on state funding to fund your schools? How much do you rely on federal funding? And then how close is that to the adequate amount to educate students? So our total amount that we get to educate our students is 68% of adequacy. That means that the amount of funding that comes into our district is 68% of what the state would say is an adequate amount. And that was all part of what Tom was saying in the evidence-based funding formula. Was kind of something that was changed maybe, I think, 4 years ago. They switched from general state aid to evidence-based funding. They want to get all schools to this adequacy target so that it's more equitable in the state. So you don't have some schools that are spending $42,000 per student and other schools that are spending $6,000 per student. So it's basically saying if your local capacity is lower, the state should contribute more. And so every school gets this tier assignment. Ours is tier 1, which means we get the most state funding, and then the other tiers get less state funding. So this is just another piece that goes into the school report card. Along with that, we have a per pupil expenditure, and it's tied to each school. So you're going to see at each school about how much money is spent per student. You'll notice probably right away, like, well, we've got 2 elementary schools. Why is there a difference? It comes down to student enrollment. So our schools are twins, except for green and blue, right? And so they're staffed very similarly. They have the same opportunities. But if one has less students than the other, then that changes the per pupil expenditure. Things also like teacher experience go into that. If we have teachers who are more experienced at one school than the other, then their school expenses are a little bit higher. So this is just a chart to show that our average per pupil expenditure is $14,000 district-wide, and you can see, where that kind of deviates from the average. Another piece of data that goes into our school report card is the student mobility. This was really interesting to me. The dark green is the state average, and then the bright green is what our students experience. And so if you've looked at the state report card or even just glancing at this chart, something you can easily see is that we're experiencing much higher than normal mobility rates in some of our populations very significantly. Our black students are 23%, have a 23% mobility rate, and statewide that's only 13.8. So that is a factor that when we think about school improvement, and we think about whole child and whole family, we think about what are the factors contributing to that. You'll see that across the board, we're higher. So that plays into some of the academic outcomes as well. If our teachers have our kids, they can do great things. Looking for math is our growth rate, dark green. Showing us is that we all notice that in English language arts, our Hispanic students outperform the state growth by 10 percentage points. We've actually gotten several calls from people saying, like, what are the strategies that you're using to get those kinds of results? Also in math, you're going to notice a similar story with our black students. We had a 51% growth rate there, with the state is at 44, and we saw the same thing with some of our multiracial students as you look at across several of the targeted areas as well. Our proficiency rates, this is kind of where you're getting at, Stacy, and this is where our principals and our coaches you probably see these numbers when you sleep, right? Like this chart shows the percent of students who consider meeting on the state assessment. So the state assessment for 3rd through 8th is the Illinois Assessment of Readiness. At the high school, it's the SAT. So I just want to kind of point out a few things. The grade levels that are tested are listed there. The percent of students who met is listed there. Our average, where it's lightly colored, this is interesting. That means that we met or surpassed the state proficiency target. That sounds really convoluted, right? Like, the state has set these proficiency targets for the number of students, the percent of students they think should be meeting in this school year. And you're going to notice, because you all have heard Hearts for Kids, that's why we're here. It's like, wow, the target, like, that is low. That's so low. And there's been national attention, right, even on Illinois' performances. Some things that those stories don't call out is that every state gives different tests, and every state's accountability plan is slightly different. So the data that matters the most is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or NAEP. It's also on our school report card, but this is the data that we really need to focus on for our designations. So the state said in third grade this year, 21.9% of third graders should meet that target, right? And so our district average was 25%. So while we are certainly not satisfied with saying 25% of our students met the proficiency target, we're thrilled with how much they grew. These are our kiddos who were learning to read when the pandemic hit. They were first graders. That's when we learned to read. And we're thrilled with their growth. We're glad we met the state target, but we are working very hard every day for that to be a higher number. And you'll see that pattern kind of throughout. So those numbers are there for you, and you can see, ending up here in 8th and 11th grade, our students who took the English and reading and writing section, they were 43% proficient. The state target was 29.47. Math is another area of significant concern. Again, you're going to see the proficiency targets as you go down, where the state's expecting anywhere from 17 to 18% of students to be proficient. This is a huge focus of every building school improvement plan, everywhere from new curricular materials and professional development coming in and really focusing on interim assessments and our MAP data, which I'll talk more about here in just a moment. So this chart is a depiction of schools that have similar low-income population as ours. So we are the red triangle right here, and this is the district's overall math performance as compared to other school districts with similar populations of low-income students. So what you see here is we're about 65% low income in Mattoon. That's why we're eligible for community eligibility provision, and we give free breakfast and lunch to everybody. We're past the threshold for that. So in school districts that have equal amount, you can see where we rank compared to other levels of proficiency. So school districts with less free and reduced lunch, you see their proficiency levels a little bit higher in math. And this line is the state average. Here we are with the English language arts, same story, just a different subject area, how our students are compared, how they're performing in comparison to other students of similar SES. So this chart is what we also utilize in our long-range strategic planning. Our teachers love their students and give everything they have to this work. And so when they see a report or something like that, you know, you all have sat in data meetings with them, right? And the actual emotional reaction to like, wow, we made so much progress and it still wasn't enough. We use this data with our teachers to say, we're in this for the marathon. Like, we have to make gains over a series of years because there is not going to be a gap closed in a 1-year time. There's learning to recover, and it's not just academic learning. There's social emotional learning to recover, and there's getting back into schools. And so we're doing great things with all that, but we recognize that this is more than a 6-month plan. And so some of the things that we are doing and that I'd like to update on as of tonight's board meeting, we have administered our MAP growth assessment, which basically tells us where our students currently are in terms of skills. It's a nationally normed test. From there, we've developed intervention groups that are working with students who are below target on very specific skills to help catch them up in both reading and math. This year, we've also added the Illinois interim assessment data. So the Illinois interim assessment, which we've taken the first one, aligns student responses to the IAR, so we can see that helps us with our curriculum, right? So MAP helps us with overall skills interventions. This interim assessment says, like, these are the standards in third grade, and here's how your kids are doing on those standards So let's reteach this one, and we can see how close kids are to those targets. Our data there looks fantastic. Our middle school math data, our middle school 8th grade math data looks phenomenal. So we're looking at that regularly. We look at 5 Lab every single week with coaches and admin teams. Our continuous improvement plans that were presented in October, they're linked there in case you guys want to look at them again. But I'm happy to report those monthly data meetings show that we are on target for meeting all of those wildly important goals. So good work happening. There's a lot of work to do, but it's work that we know how to do, and we have people who care and want to do the work. And so we feel confident in that. The last thing I would just share with you all is that the full report, the whole thing, if you print everything, it's like 212 pages. There's a ton of data. It's available at the first hyperlink, but we've also posted it on our website. If you guys want to look at it, just go to Student Services, Curriculum and Assessment. Under the Assessment tab, there's a link to the district report card. You can also Google Illinois School Report Card and then just type in Mattoon. But that's where you can find it on our website, and you can dig into way more data. I restrained myself, probably doesn't feel like it, but that was actually like limited. There's a lot in there. So in summary, we're proud of the growth that is happening. I think I alluded to this last month. When we look at the national trends for recovery, we're getting a growth trend line. Our trend line is better. So we're proud of that. That's something we want to continue to celebrate and keep working on. We have work to do. We feel like we're doing the right work, and we're on track for some significant gains. But again, this is going to be a while. It's going to be a while, and that's why even the state proficiency targets are where they are. Before I move on, there's no action on this school report card, but I'm sure if there are questions or things you'd like to talk more about, this would be an okay time for that. It would be a good time for that.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Fine with me.
We can have it limited, I guess.
Okay, my just question is like the it said there was 1 to 2 years to meet this target, 3 to 5. Does that start from now, or did that start at 2020, or where?
That's a great
that
question.
timing start?
That's a great question. So the data that was used to make those assumptions was from this. They used the spring map benchmark to the fall benchmark. So given where we were in the fall, at that fall benchmark, that's how long they're saying they anticipate. And that's just gap closure. I mean, we weren't at 100% before that, right? So thanks for listening.
Sorry.
No, you're
Sorry.
good. I get it. My own daughter's like, can we please go?
Christy, I have a question.
Yes.
So I've spoken to teachers, not only in our district, but other districts, and my understanding is standards are basically out the window. We're just not even working on that. We're not, you don't have to meet certain standards at all. So that's my question is, are we going to try to meet certain standards? Because
oh my goodness,
it's basically then up to each individual teacher what they want to teach, how much they want to teach, and what they accomplish. And I know, hopefully we'll talk about it later, but I know there are some teachers in our district who are choosing to give opinions about things instead of teaching from the lessons. And so I'm concerned about that because, there should be standards. We should have a goal, and it shouldn't be just up to each individual teacher what they choose to accomplish that semester.
Right. So we absolutely have standards. Like, you're speaking my love language. We have standards. We, in fact, if it's okay, I'll just take a second because I want to show something that I think will be helpful. And I think if the conversation comes up, it would be good for people to know about this. Let's see. I linked this in, so maybe if I go, I'll just go to this. MCUSD2 bookmark. So our webpage, actually, something that we do for this exact reason, we have on our webpage the expected standards in every subject area that the board has approved. So there are some areas that we're still in revision, so they're not going to be up there, like fine arts. For example, I was talking with Julia Colombo today. She's like, can I put mine up there yet? And I was like, well, CCC hasn't seen it and the board hasn't. But I want to just show you A lot of districts don't do that, but our teachers have spent the last 3-4 years looking at the standards, the state standards, and developing proficiency scales that describe what students should know and be able to do as a result of those standards. So let me just kind of show you what that looks like for us. So under this curriculum and assessments tab, if you click on curriculum, it will show you, like, let's just look at like math as an example. These are the expected standards for students in our district, and this is what teachers utilize from the first unit in kindergarten of categorical data all the way to, if we make it to honors 3, complex numbers. And so then as a parent, if you want to dig in on that, let's see, we'll go with one I can. Beckett, you want to come up and do one? I'm just kidding. We'll do subtraction. Okay, so if I click on any of these measurement topics, you can see, like, if you're like, I want to know, like, what are they actually doing on that? Like, probably subtraction wouldn't be one of those topics, but if you wanted to see, you could pull it up and you can read exactly what the end in mind is. So the 3.0 for our students in every subject area, this is what the expected learning is. Down here, there's additional content that says, if they can't do that, this might be why. So let's work on these things. So we absolutely have standards, and we actually just met today to help develop instructional strategies and assessment strategies so that people can get a really good sense on, you know, what their students know or don't know or need to know next. So, I don't know if that answers your question. I kind of went a little deep on that, but I'm seriously so proud of this work. You guys, they have really done a lot of good work, and it's open for the public, and we're proud of that too. Like, there's nothing, everything we're teaching is out there for people to see.
And Christy, didn't you say that, I mean, there's actual lesson plans, like
Yeah.
you can.
So the next step after this is the board level, right? Like, the board says, yes, these are the standards we want you all to be teaching. From here then, what grade was this? Our second grade teachers create, like, they take this and they create modules in Schoology with, like, videos and activities and worksheets and whatever else they're doing that, you know, as a parent, when you have a second grader, you can go in there and you can click on there and you can say, oh, this is what they did today. Oh, this is what it looked like. Some of our teachers even put videos in there so that you can re-watch it. So, yes, there's a next level to this that's not on the website, but in Schoology. Yeah. Any other questions? That's a great question. Yeah, yes, they do. If you don't, then please let us know, right, Amanda?
So what's an example, Christy, that would happen in high school? So you have a 9th grade student, they're not meeting the standards for mathematics.
Yeah.
And they don't go to Power Hour, they don't go, like, what is the teacher doing to help increase this group of 9th graders?
That's a great question. So, as you know, we've tried a lot of different things with math. This year we have an instructional model. It's like a workshop model where there's a lesson for everybody on the lesson of the day. So if it's the 9th grade, Ryan, what would be a good 9th grade one? I don't know. Geometry, whatever. That's what I was going to say. We teach everyone that, and then it's like, all right, get to work. Okay, he does his lesson, and then they start working, and then he might say, all right, now these 5 of you that didn't pass the one last week or the week before, I need you in a small group. So what we've started developing and it's a direct instruction then, so it's reteach during the class period. And then once they're done and they get their reteaching, whatever, then they might call another group. And so that's the instructional model that Rich and Tara are really working to develop at the high school, so that it is, because like one of the things we noticed was like some kids love that, let's just keep moving on. And so we have this personalized option for students that works for. Then we have more traditional, like, this is the lesson of the day. If you're doing great, keep going. But if you're not, I'm going to reteach with you. So that is, and that's why I think measuring the effectiveness of those things as we go becomes really important. So, yeah, good question. Others? All right, the next thing I think is a curriculum update. Let's see here. No action on this either, but some things for the board to consider. First, we will talk about some recommendations from the CCC. They met, I think that was last week on Thursday, or 2 weeks ago, the 3rd. Whenever we met, and they made some recommendations for the board's consideration. So I'll talk through those. And then I also want to give an update to the board about the progress of the Health and Sex Education Advisory Team that just met last night. Yes. Okay. So again, no action, but, oh, got a little fancy thing there. Okay. The first recommendation from the Curriculum Coordinating Committee is a new course, and it's the LIFT Leadership course. So specifics about that are hyperlinked here. This is the entire presentation that was given to CCC. You'll have it to look over the next month, and if you have questions, give me a call. But essentially, this state course code is listed there. This is a class that all students at LIFT will take. It is a 1 credit. It's an elective credit. Here you can see what the measurement topics are. It includes content from 40X, from 7 Habits, and from the Rules of Great Leaders. So you can look through all of that. This course is embedded in whatever program. So if they're in construction, they're applying these concepts into their construction management. If they're in HVAC or green energy, they're applying these concepts there. So they're getting that credit while they're in that program by doing the work associated with the class. So it's not an extra hour that they're there. And it doesn't take away from the program that they're involved in. So anyway, you guys can look that over. CCC recommends approval of that course. So we'll talk about that next month. Let's see. The next thing is capstone designation. Oh, sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Are they currently taking this, or are you waiting
Yes.
for a recommendation and then approval?
They're taking it right now, but they're taking it separately. Like Mrs. Clausen is kind of doing that with them as a separate thing. So we're looking at now like embedding it into their program.
For next year?
Yes.
Do they receive the 1 credit this year? Because
Yes. It's just a different course code. So this, instead of being the leadership program, so right now there's the leadership program, then it's going to be like MAP lift leadership or communications lift leadership, so that those facilitators are embedding those skills every day. And like right now, they do a lot of it together. And so this is just going to be a different delivery modality. Yeah. Good question. Thanks. Okay, so the other things, capstone designation review. So you might remember last year the board took action to expand the ways that we look at capstone. So previously there was a list of courses. We tried going back, I think we went back to like 1998 to figure out how that all came about. And there was no real record as to the criteria of what made something a capstone course. So then CCC said, well, what if we come up with some criteria? They did, they presented it. CCC said, we think this is a good idea so that it doesn't limit student course choices because they're trying to be summa cum laude. So in order to be summa in our district, you have to get straight A's every class you take, and then you also have to take a certain number of capstone courses. We created this form so that staff members or students. So at the last CCC meeting, we reviewed healthcare occupations and Class E. I've linked the rationale here, so board members, you can look through and read the reasons why. CCC gave it a resounding yes, thumbs up on these 2 courses. If you've had students in these courses, you know that it is advanced coursework. It does require a level of commitment and a work outside the school day, and so we feel confident in this recommendation as well. Any questions on that? You guys can call me over the course of the next month if so. Finally, I'd like to give an update on the Health and Sex Education Advisory Team. So we have met 4 times now. The first meeting we established some norms, and the reason for that was to elicit the maximum amount of feedback. We knew this was a hot button topic and a lot of people had thoughts on it, and so tried to come up with ways that people could have their voice included and heard. Then we reviewed our existing curriculum. So we looked at what is currently being taught in our schools. Our health teachers presented and explained what their lessons were. We got to see what the resources were that they used, and we looked at the standards they were currently teaching that were included. We also had some requests from committee members to look at additional resources. So they looked at our social emotional learning standards, our digital literacy standards, and they wanted to look at the entire body of the standards that had been proposed. So we gave those resources as well. Then at the third meeting, we took new standards and aligned it to existing curriculum. So we said if nothing changes, and we wanted to keep teaching what we've been teaching, what would those standards be? And that was in October. And then at last night's meeting, we discussed some additional input that had been submitted, and we looked at the chart again. We spent some more time talking about high school and answering questions. Last night's meeting was primarily discussion. And so that's kind of where we are at this point. No action for the board, but just wanted to bring you up to speed and answer any questions that you might have about the process or any of the information so far. I've included, I've included a link to a summary of what has been recommended so far. I'll pull that up just for tonight make sure it works. I think it was included in your board packets, I think also.
But if somebody wanted to look at that, it would be on the website.
Yeah, as soon as this is posted, I think after the meeting, this is just the work of the committee so far. I know it's really small. Just to kind of explain what you're looking at, these are the standards that represent what we have been teaching, and then there are some general recommendations that have been included. This isn't the final recommendation from that team because they haven't sent anything to CCC, and CCC is not sending anything to you all. But this is just so you guys are aware of the progress that's being made, and I can answer any questions if.
Can I ask a question? Are parents on your team?
Yes. Yep. I meant to put that on there. Last month I had the list of the committee members. We have parents and community leaders. We have administrators, teachers, board members, and parents. A lot of parents. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't know that this is necessarily going to be a you. It may be whoever's ahead of the committee. So when you guys initially voted for the adoption, quote unquote, for the new state sex education act or curriculum, we initially voted yes, and then we changed it to we're going to go and review our current curriculum. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
So what happened was the board had three. I don't know if you want me to answer this or not. Sorry. Okay. So the board had three options, and it was you can adopt the standards as presented. You can say we're not adopting it and teach no sex education, or you can modify, you can adapt what the standards are. So you can look at the breadth of standards and you can say these are the ones that locally we feel comfortable with, and that way you still have a sex ed curriculum. And so that's what the board voted to do was we want this to go to our local team. We want them to make a recommendation based on what's there. Then it goes to the curriculum committee. We want them to make a recommendation, and then it will come to the board, and then they can say whether or not they want that to happen.
I guess just for clarity, so when you guys go to vote on this next month, the month after that, whenever the vote comes, is it going to be explained that, listen, we are not voting yes on the state's curriculum, we are voting either yes, we're going to adopt what we've reviewed, or no, we're going to reject the state's curriculum, we're going to keep and modify what we have? How is that, I guess, what's the verbiage on that going to be?
The board action would be based on what CCC, the curriculum team does, which what I think will happen is the curriculum team will say, this is what we're recommending our curriculum is. And so then the board's action is just on that. Do you want this curriculum or not? And if they say no, then we go back to the drawing board of like, okay, then we're back to option 1, 2, or 3, right?
I guess I just want to make sure that if we vote yes on the curriculum, in no way, shape, or form does that mean we've said, okay, state, we voted yes,
Right.
now you can do as you wish.
Right.
It's going to stay local control.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
It's going to be local control. It just is. With every time that they have a curriculum,
new state standards come out. I mean, they do the same thing with ELA, they do the same thing with the math curriculum. The state sends down all these standards. They form this advisory committee. This advisory committee looks at all those state standards, and there's hundreds of them, and there's no way they can even begin to teach all those standards. So they choose which standards they want the kids to learn, and then that advisory committee then is sent to the curriculum committee. The curriculum committee then fine-tunes it, and if they feel good with it, then they send it to us to review. Same thing with this. Yes, the state had all these standards, crazy standards that are not fit for our kids. Okay, so what we did in this advisory committee is, because I'm on the committee, we saw the standards and we saw what the teachers currently do. And we found a standard within the state's list that was aligned. It's the same thing. So we can still have this abstinence sex ed, okay? Because that's what we teach, abstinence. And so that way it's aligned, and we are not going to do something crazy. Please trust me on that.
No, I guess what I'm saying is I just want to make sure that the way that it's voted on, in no way, shape, or form does it look anything like the state's bill. Meaning, and this may be over and above what should be done, but do you go back and amend the vote saying we don't want anything to do with the sex ed bill, we have our own curriculum and we want to keep that?
Well, and it's kind of, okay, so we are taking standards off of the states. It's because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to teach sex abstinence at all, because we said no to the state standards. Is this correct?
But don't you already have your curriculum?
We actually do not have a sex ed curriculum. We have a health curriculum. And within that health field and that health curriculum is where they teach the abstinence and the safe sex and that kind of thing. So we actually do not have, Mattoon District does not have a sex ed curriculum. They have a health curriculum, and this is
So
included.
we would be adopting a sex ed curriculum where there is not currently one?
It's still going to be, I believe, under the health.
So what's confusing to me is, how do all the other school districts who voted no against the National Sex Education Standard teach the sex ed curriculum?
I have no idea.
Because they're not giving it up, right? They're just saying, I'm not going to be married with a national standard, because I don't like it, and I don't want anybody to bring me in.
I guess what they do in their classes is their business. I really don't have a clue what they do. They're the ones that are going to face the problems from the state if they come down and get audited or whatever. But we're doing it the right way. We're looking at the standards and we're aligning with what we currently teach.
Just a question, if we decide not to adopt that standard and go back to a no vote, does that squash any funding, like in the health department? Or
There's no money tied to this. There's no money tied to this.
There's no curriculum, no nothing?
There's no money tied to this.
Yes, sir.
Who picked the committee members?
You almost made it.
Pardon me?
Who picked the committee members?
Who selected them?
Who picked the people to sit on the committee?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we asked every principal to make multiple nominations and of parents, and then we had some people that said they were, this is a topic they were very interested in, and so we invited them to participate as well. The teachers were all our PE or health teachers, and then we have an administrator from every building. And I can't remember how you picked the board.
Well, I said publicly in a meeting that I would be on the committee, and so I was asked to be on the committee.
And Heidi and I are alternates that we can attend, because we can't have more than two.
So,
Can I just have a follow-up question on my question that I asked before? If there isn't any money or any funding, tied to the curriculum or anything like that, why would there be a need to change anything that we're doing at the current moment? Why would we just say no and be like, no, we're doing our own thing, we don't need to, revise what we have? What was the need for that?
I wasn't on the board in April when the vote was taken, but I'm glad the board voted in April to exercise local control, and here's why. It's my understanding that the standards it was a list of 174? 174. I don't know anyone who knows what's in all 174. So doesn't it make sense to say, let's give it to a group of people and see if there's anything in there? I mean, we know the hot button things that we're like, we don't want that. And I think everyone in this room is on that page, right? But is it possible that there is something, on number 173 or 171 that we should look at? I don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and that's why we decided to take the vote. They decided to take the vote and exercise the local control.
But my question is, like, I guess following up with what you just said, I mean, are you going through every 175 of those and even, like, every?
I'm not.
That has not, the committee has not done that. So what the committee did was looked at like what the current practices were,
Yeah.
and if we didn't want to change anything,
Mm-hmm.
then what, we did like a search and find, like what would be the standard that would match. And then the others we would not recommend. And then last night we asked again, like, advisory team, is there anything that you feel like is missing? Is there anything that you feel like you'd want to go search and find for? And we still need to get consensus from the group on that. But so the members all had all 174, and I know several that did go through every single one, and they had them at the meeting last night, but we didn't start with that and then build. We said what has been successful and worked in our classrooms, and let's start there, and then ask, is there something that's missing?
Can I just ask a few clarifying questions? So your update is just the progress thus far?
Yes.
It is not completed by the committee?
No. This is just to bring you up to speed.
Okay, and then once it's completed, then it goes to the curriculum coordinating committee?
Yep.
And then if it makes it with the recommendation like that, then it will come to the board?
Yep.
But you're not at that point yet? This is just where you are thus far?
Yep.
Okay.
And is
That's
it
all.
like other board issues where once the curriculum committee's done, it goes to the board, then the board waits a month before any action? So parents that want to know what the.
That's a
thing
great
is,
point.
they have
So
that
like
time.
what Jody's saying, in case you haven't been around a lot of curricular adoptions, what happens is, like tonight, where it was like, here's a new lift course, no action, take the month, ask your questions, get some input, and then there'll be action, it'd be the same thing. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 7, reports and recommendations of the superintendent.
Yes.
Mr. Congress.
I have, first item is item 7.1, a memorandum of understanding with the Mattoon Education Support Personnel Association. And it specifically has been some collaboration and conversation around the area in which the board gratefully approved the addition of 2 new bus drivers. This is, as the board has been made aware, it's not only just a local issue in regards to the industry shortage in transportation, it's a national issue. So the attempt was to work with the association to determine how we can best serve the needs of current drivers and the recruitment of future drivers. So as you saw tonight, we also have 1 driver that's resigned. I think Dr. Scosi has 3 more behind that with retirements coming up over the course of the next month. I guess to be frank, where we sit currently is we're at capacity to the point today where we had to ask a maintenance worker to fill one of our sub routes. However, Mr. Parr, our transportation director, has been working to recruit potential bus drivers and just recently put on a course, bus driver training course this past weekend, and we had 16 folks show up for that. So there's optimism, I think, that's around the corner, but this specific agreement has been approved by the MESPA Association leadership. Can praise the work that Amy St. John, Danny Simpson, and Carla Duffert have done in order to work with their association for them to understand the dire need that we see. And so we're asking for the board's approval to allow the board to negotiate with the MESPA by category position, the MESPA bus drivers. So with that, we would seek the board's approval to begin that process.
May I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion.
By Erica, second.
Second.
Ashley, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Mr. Conrad, you said that we had a maintenance worker fill in.
Yes.
Please, for me, is this person qualified to do that? Do
They
they
are.
have their CDLs and all of the other qualifications?
They are. They actually were a former bus driver for us in the district that took a position in the maintenance role. So we're fortunate that he's maintained that certification, that bus driver, to be able to do so.
That's what I needed, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Callie, will you please call roll?
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Skinner.
Yes.
Thank you. And Amy, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Item 7.2 is recognition of School Board Members Day, which happens to be today. So we'd just like to honor and share our appreciation from the school district perspective, from the community's perspective, in your service and your voice to local control and to our students, and giving us direction as to the policy that this board approves. So appreciate your work around that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now for the grand finale. Item 8, reports and recommendations of other district personnel. Presentation of the lift update, McLean Schaefer and his lift students.
These kids gotta drive all the way back to the school tonight.
Come on in, guys. Come on up here. Yeah, you can stand right up here, kind of around this way. Got some friends with us today. So thanks everybody for hanging out, being here. We've got a little update we'd like to give you on Lyft. My name is McLean Schaefer. I'm the director, so we're going to go over a little bit of some budget analysis with Lyft, some costs. We're going to go into some recruiting, enrollment, some events, things that have been happening, some current statistics as we're 12 weeks old as a school. So we'll conclude with some students telling some stories. They've got some good ones to share. So I'll turn it over to, I think, oh, am I in the way here?
I have been moved to the center.
Okay. Move to the
Come
center.
over here, you guys.
Yeah, let's
so
come
that-
over here.
Yeah.
We'll go over this way, and I'll, first thing we'll talk about here is some operating expenses. I'll turn it over to Mr. Gear.
I'm Ryan Gear. If you don't know, I'm going to be the business manager starting next year, so I'm just starting to dip my toes into this. So they asked me to run a report on the operating expenses for the Lyft building. So the left-hand column, I've broken it up into 5 categories: salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, and capital outlay. The middle column is what was done when we made the budget in July, and that was the budget that was approved by the board in September. So those are the breakdowns. This is a high overview of the budget. And then in the far right column is what we have spent from July 1st to November 7th. November 7th is no special day, it's just the day that I was asked to run the report. So that's 35% of the fiscal year. So you can see we've spent $333,000 out of the $1.2 million budgeted for the Lyft building. So that's it right there.
Awesome. Thank you. Kind of continuing on with some spring enrollment, currently underway. So far, we've got 9 additional students representing districts of Marshall, Charleston, Shelbyville, Tuscola, Mattoon, with some additional Mattoon enrollees expected here as they're working out their schedules for spring enrollment. I would also like to say we've got an additional IGA sign, so we're welcoming Effingham Hearts, who've been working with them for some enrollment with Effingham High School as well. Really excited about that with spring enrollment as that is currently underway. So some of our recruitment that we've been talking about, in addition to mailings, email communications, I want to give Callie a shout out with our social media postings. And so if you're not following Lyft Central Illinois, please get on socials, check that out. We have students that are going to be kind of running some of the recruitment pieces, which I'll get into here in a second. So school tours, both students and staff, program videos that our proud to say our communications floor has taken part in. Presentations, sending schools, student-led this spring. We've got a couple already lined up for that. Program guides and countless individual conversations, and you're seeing 5 of these representatives of those individual conversations that are happening every day in schools throughout our region. Very proud about that. Events and tours, just the highlights. Couldn't fit all of them on the screen. Some to make note of, and we'll show a short video clip, I promise. It's 60 seconds long at the end for our Lyft partnership event. just kind of the kickoff ribbon cutting ceremony to our community open house, trunk or treat. Those three events alone, thousands of people getting a chance, I could say thousands of people getting a chance to come through LIFT, to see it, to tell the story, to see what's happening with students in that space. ROE Institute Day, I think, is another important thing where we had psychologists, social workers, and counselors coming in. I'm not going to go through all of these. This is just to give you an idea of not only like events and tours we're hosting, but also industry business partners that are bringing in their representatives, their interest in seeing how they can connect to students, connect students to pathways for work post-graduation. So really excited and proud and happy of all the hard work that's gone into those events and tours. So after 12 weeks, I say that we've been at school for 12 weeks, so we're 12 weeks old right now. We've had a total of 12 guest speakers that have come to the left in some form or fashion to invest in students in all of our pathways. We've had over 200 service projects that have been completed throughout our region. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Stewart on that and the high school for kind of starting and thinking about this Green and Gold Day and how that lift rippled across throughout the region, where students standing up here engaged in service projects all throughout our region and their hometowns. So great things that are starting here in Mattoon are now rippling across our region. We're really proud about that. So 200 projects. 51 students with specific leadership roles. So all of those tours, all of those events, and or presentations, students have been involved in some form or fashion. Happy about that. 80 students have attended experiences outside of LIFT, so that would be specific to their program or pathway. Fancy way for saying some field trips. And then really cool, 166 certifications or credentials have been attained already, and we're 12 weeks in. So that is not a, really cool stuff. That here is the students, that is the facilitators. They are investing the time, doing some incredible work, and hitting the ground running. You're going to hear some stories from them. So looking ahead, we still have multiple tours, events, and communication that will continue. January 20th is we're looking at a target date for a LIFT Regional Exploration Day, where we'll invite the schools throughout our region to come and preview and see what LIFT has to have. Still working out the details of that. Presentations at regional schools and school boards as requested will continue to be ongoing, and I'm really excited as part of our student lead team. There's already been an action team that one lead team member has said, hey, I want in on the recruitment, what you're doing. I got some really better ideas. Okay, I got that. I hear you. So we're going to let the students kind of take some lead on what's happening looking ahead. So tonight we have 5 students that have different stories in various versions. I'm going to let them share with you a little bit about their experiences at LIFT and what they have, starting with Dwight, who's kind of been here from the inception of LIFT. So, Dwight?
So, I think we discussed 19 months ago.
Yeah.
I was in here presenting to the board, talking about how this building is going to be an amazing opportunity for students across the board. And now that I actually get to live LIFT and I get to go to school at LIFT, it has definitely lived up to what I thought it was going to be. And there's been so many opportunities that I've gotten to participate in. And I'm doing a course in executive leadership right now. And I've just seen a lot of difference in my life with the coursework I've taken. I'm saving a lot of money because one of my goals was to not eat out as much because I ate out every day. And so with the 40X program, that's one of the things I learned at LIFT. I've plugged in from 6 days a week to 1 day a week in a certain amount of time, and I've seen results in my bank account and my way of living. So.
Jack, can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from, what program you're in.
I'm Jack. I'm from Tuscola. I'm a senior. And I'm on the 4th floor, which is manufacturing, architecture, and construction. And I've had a wonderful experience. This has been just a great thing. I heard about it a while ago, and it really piqued my interest because I saw that it was close. I'm only 20 or so minute away drive. It was close. A lot of my friends were doing it, and it's given me it's given me like actual useful skills. I'm learning in this construction field, and I want to go into a field in construction, and this is giving me actual certifications and skills and talents that I can use outside of school and really help get my life started.
Chris, tell us who you are, where you're from.
I'm Chris Boyd. I'm from Tuscola as well, and I'm also in the construction part, and we really are learning a lot of cool things. I heard about this the same time you did last year, junior year, and I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool, you know, I'll try it. And there was a couple of my friends that was like, hey, you should do this with me, and so they decided to do it as well. And one of the things that I really love is that we've already learned how to do programming, some programming on the CNC machine, and we're making cornhole sets with me and my buddies, and it's a really cool experience. And then also, so we're doing this thing that's new. What would you say?
For us, last week.
Yeah, like last week.
Everything's new for us.
Yeah. I did miss the first meeting, but that's okay. That was yesterday. But there's a student lead team, and it takes a student from each floor, and they are the leader of their floor. So I'm the leader of our construction floor, and I'm pretty sure she's also a leader. And we get together twice a month to have meetings, and each of us will have 4 to 5 students along with us. And like he said, there's already a team working on the recruitment. And we'll just basically choose, like, hey, we want to get this done, this done, this done. I want to have these people help me, and we'll do tasks.
You shared with me earlier why that was important for like what you want to do in the future.
Yes. I want to do like construction management or business management, something in that, and leading a team is actually a huge part of management, and so that'll really help my future, along with doing something in the construction field on my floor, which will help as well.
Sylvia, why don't you tell us who you are, where you're from, and what program you're enrolled in?
I am Sylvia Gordon. I am a junior at Mattoon High School. I am on the child care floor, and I am really loving it because I've always been working with little kids since I was 11, 12 maybe, and I have been going to daycares, helping out there, and it's a really good experience.
Awesome. You shared with us and your facilitators about how Lyft has helped make a difference back at the high school.
Yes.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Ever since I got to Lyft, it has made a really big impact on myself and my grades, because last year my grades were really down and wasn't doing so good, and now this year, since Lyft has really changed me big time, my grades have been up there really good.
Why don't you tell us who you are, where you're from, what floor you're in?
I'm Jocelyn Schweitzer. I'm from Martinsville High School, and I'm a senior, and I'm on the leadership floor. And Lyft has been such a great experience. You're not treated like a child who should just be quiet, sit at a desk, do your work, but instead you have a voice. You're treated like an adult. You can speak up whenever you need to. Your ideas that are thrown out on the table can become reality. And it has created such a significant impact on all the students, I'm sure. And it creates like responsibility, respect, and you have a voice and you are heard.
Awesome. So thank you. This time, if there are any questions for our students,
Can someone, can someone, one of you guys, explain the bean? Please.
Coffee bean?
Yep.
Oh, the bean.
The bean. Who wants to talk about the coffee bean?
This is kind of a big moment for you.
Okay, I'll do.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to mess it up, but so basically you are represented as a coffee bean, and the water around you is your environment, and the coffee bean can change the water. So you have that impact that you can change the water around you.
Well done.
So on Friday, ways we celebrate that. We find ways to see how students are changing the water in some form or facet, either in the building with others, and they can nominate people for the Coffee Bean Award. So we draw that, and like our motto is like find a way to change the water, and that's what we want students to do when they graduate. That's what we want them to do in their as they're young adults. We want them to find ways to change the water, and it's really been a cool, fun thing. And I got to give credit to Mr. Brown for that idea. Any other questions? All right, I'd like to conclude with one. Oh,
Not a question. Good job. You're packing young people.
thank you. Thanks, Mr. Johnson. Appreciate that. I want to show you this quick video from our partnership event that highlights in 60 seconds just a thank you to all our partners, many of you, board, people that are watching online. This is just a little thank you for them, 60 seconds long. Do we have volume? Yeah, we do.
The colors are amazing. They just draw you in.
This is a phenomenal project, and it's going to do so much for education.
You are the change makers. Your fingerprints are all over what high school could look like, and we're standing here tonight because of your input and because of our shared belief in the potential of these leaders. Thank you. This is only the beginning, and together we can really change the face of what it means to be in high school in America. Thank you for being here tonight.
That is it.
Oh, I was wondering if your fourth floor students could tell us about the virtual headset.
Oh, VR. You guys got into VR yet? Mr. Brown, you want to share a little bit about VR?
Yeah, sure. We haven't got into that curriculum yet, but the VR headset, the neat part about that curriculum is it's set up in a way where there's two different aspects of it. So there's the VR where you can go and practice. So in that mode, when a student goes into the VR, whether it's for electrical, whether it's for construction, whether it's for HVAC, safety, it covers a large range. But when they're in that environment, it's going to walk them through step by step what they're going to do. So if they're testing an outlet, it's going to say, grab the multimeter, put this here, put that there, making sure that they get that memory of what goes where. And then when it gets out of that, it goes into testing mode, where at that point, it just throws them a problem. Here's the problem, whatever environment you happen to be in. Now you have to go and do that. And then if something happens to go wrong, let's say you are working with electrical and you do something wrong and you get shocked, you're not really getting shocked, right? So it gets them to that experience of going through that problem solving in the virtual, and then we can come out into the real world and do that and know that we're doing it safely. And
can you describe the space on the floor?
so the space just depends on where you're at. So you're going to set up, when you go into the VR headset, you're going to set up the space in whatever room you have, and it will adjust to that size. So like in your open area there, I would draw the outline. As long as the student's inside of that outline, they're in the virtual world. As soon as they get close to that, the grid will show up, and then the cameras on the VR pop on, and they see what's out in front of them, so they don't get
Thank you, sir. Amazing. Okay. Excellent way to end our meeting tonight. And we do not have any further business to discuss, and I need a motion to adjourn at 9:07. Motion by Erica and a second by Dale. Would you please call roll?
Larson?
Yes.
Sorry. Overton? Yes. Ryder?
Yes.
Weaver? Hedges?
Yes.
Skinner?
Thank you. Yes. Please be safe as you drive home this evening. Enjoy